Okay, bird loving fans, this video is for you. We're talking our advance order birdseed sale and specifically what we should be feeding, when we should be feeding, and how to start all this process if you haven't been feeding the birds. So let's talk about it. Okay, if you look behind me, there is no shortage of birdseed. There's lots to pick from and lots of styles, and customers are always coming in saying, I don't know where to even start. What do I need to feed? But then also, we have this sale going on right now that's called our Advanced Order Birdseed Sale. And what is it? Well, first of all, let's start with the sale. The sale is a system that's been going on for 25 years plus. It was started before I even got here. Basically, at this time of year, the new harvest is out. The best pricing of the birdseed of the year is starting to be established, and also baseline pricing for the rest of the season. So what we do is we go out to our distributor and we negotiate better pricing, take on bulk pallets and pallets of birdseed, and drive down the cost. We then pass that savings on to you in the form of our advanced order birdseed sale. All you do is you come in, there's about 20 items on the list from all different kinds of birdseed. You fill out what you want in bags. We put it aside. We order in that birdseed ahead of time in bulk. And then we call you in November when it's in to come and pick it up once it's physically in the building. We get the birdseed out the door quickly. You get volume discounts that we've passed on to you by us buying in bulk. So it's win-win. By us placing bigger orders, drive down the cost, results in savings to you. So that's how all this works. So you have to the end of October to get your birdseed order in. You place that order at the store. You can call it in. You can fax it in. It's online. Or you can come in the store and fill it out in person. No money up front. You only pay when you pick it up. All right. Now let's talk about what birdseed to be feeding and where to start. All right, so the first thing you need to ask yourself when you're feeding the birds, are you really trying to dial in? And have you been feeding the birds for a while? You've got a good selection, and maybe you have multiple feeders. And then you're now trying to target specific, like some customers will come in and want to target the finch or the cardinals or woodpeckers. And so most of us, when we start out, the key is to just start with a nice selection of birdseed. And what that means is a mix. And we'll take a look at that in a second. Because birds, think of it simplistically like us. We all have our own personal tastes and styles. There's some people that like vegetables. There's some people that love meat. Well, birds have a wide selection. Now, certain birds, say like the finch, they like some of the small seed called the thistle. Some of the bigger birds, they need more calories per bite, so they tend to like the sunflowers. And then there is a mixture of seeds that are used in between. So if I want to just pick a birdseed that I am going to do for just the widest selection of birdseed, it's always going to have a black oil birdseed in there, but then it's also going to have some mixes. Now, some of the tricks, and customers are always coming in and not wanting to spend a lot of money up front, which makes sense. But I will tell you, when it comes to birdseed, you get what you pay for. When you go to a mixed seed selection, and we'll look at that in a second, they have a lot of fillers in there. So the less expensive bird seeds out there feel better when we're buying them. But when you watch your bird feeders, you'll actually notice that a lot of the small millet, some of the filler seeds just get kicked out of the way because the birds are really after the sunflower seed. So although we pay less for the bird seed up front, we waste a whole lot more, and that can bring on a whole bunch of other problems. So let's take a closer look at the birdseed itself. Now, it's probably easiest to start with this selection. Flyer's Choice is one of my go-to seeds for anybody that's looking for a nice selection of birdseed. Now, when you look inside, you can see these black seeds are all what we call black oil sunflower. It's probably the number one sought after birdseed. However, there's safflower, there's millet, there's all different kinds of seed in here. This is a mixture of seed. Now, Feathered Friends does a really good job at helping you narrow down what bird seed to use. If you're trying to dial it in, you can start with the cardinals, and then you can go right across the line and determine which mixes are best for optimizing for cardinals. But I can tell you from experience, without even knowing what's on there, if it's got a nice selection of birdseed, and that little seed right there is what I'm watching for, that is a filler. That's called millet. Now, some birds do like millet, but a premium mix should only have a little bit of this. As you go down to, say, the favorite favorite is a lower price point mix. You can see there's a whole lot more millet in there and a lot less sunflower, and there's even some corn in there. So this is a more economical mix. Still gives a nice selection, but I don't necessarily like feeding the favorite. I'd rather spend the money and get some of the Flyer's Choice. So this is a nice mix for if it's just all purpose. The other alternative, customers are the number one selling birdseed, is just straight black oil. So when I'm just starting out, I'll either just start with a good premium black oil sunflower seed, or I will go for one of the mixes. Now, why do lots of shells matter? Well, if you've got a good following of birds and you're getting good supply, the birds are cracking open all the seeds, eating the kernel on the inside and kicking the shell aside. Now, what that can do is if you get a buildup of seed shells and everything underneath your feeders, not only can it make a mess out of the patio or wherever those bird feeders are sitting, but you can also get into problems with rodents coming around because they're kicking that junk seed. If you're using an inexpensive seed and getting all that millet all over the ground, you'll get the doves and some that'll come around and pick off the ground, but you're also going to get more chipmunks, squirrels, and you're going to get the occasional rats that are going to come around. So keeping your feeding areas clean and raking it up periodically, or if you don't feed a lot and you just want a clean mix, those Shella Select mixes will avoid the mess at all because there's almost zero waste. You are going to pay a lot more for it per pound, but you absolutely have almost no waste, and we just don't get calls for rodents coming around bird feeders when somebody's using some of those premium mixes with no shells. I swear the shells just draw them in like a welcome wagon because they smell like the seed. Then they start exploring, then they start making a mess. Now, one last thought on all of this. For those of you who are just looking to start off with a bird feeders, you got to be patient. Birds come around and they just look around for what seed is available. But if they don't know you even have any feeders, or they don't know that you have sunflower plants growing in your backyard, you have to be patient to get them started. It can actually take weeks sometimes to get birds to stop finding a bird feed. So one key that I have found is if you get a big, like say tube feeder, one of these bigger feeders that can handle quite a bit of seed, don't fill it up all the way. Because if it gets wet or gets stagnant in there, it's going to get mildewy and it's not going to turn over. You want to turn over your food within reasonable amounts of time. So what I do is I'll take some of the birdseed and I'll sprinkle it around the ground around my feeder. And then I'll only fill my feeder maybe a third of the way or half the way. And what that's doing is it's kind of like trying to get their attention. You're trying to let them see that there's seed there, get their attention. And we were just talking about rodents. I don't want to be throwing birdseed around my property all the time. But temporarily, for the first couple of weeks while I'm trying to get their attention, once the birds see that there's lots of seed around, and then they go through and start picking up and eating it, you can blast through some of these small feeders pretty quick, almost every day or every other day, once you have a good following. But it takes discipline of just keeping it full. Don't let it go empty for 3, 4, 5 days in between. Just try to keep it halfway full. Let it come down, fill it some more. Once you see that you're turning that over in a decent amount of time, fill it right up, get it right up to the top, and eventually you'll even be discussing ways to get bigger feeders that hold more seed at once, because once you have a good following, you can blast through some seed. But the key is just getting going. Turn over that seed, spread it around, keep it fresh, and please keep your bird seed in a metal or heavy-duty plastic container, something that keeps it dry and keeps the rodents out, because you want to just buy it in bulk, get the good sales. But if you're just sitting around being sloppy with your bird seed, again, you're going to attract rodents. So just keep your areas clean. You'll be all good. Hope that helps. Take care.